Sparking Change with Gigi, a show that aims to make the world a better place by bringing together authentic minds. This show encourages each of us to be the change we wish to see in the world. Get ready to be inspired and join us on this journey to create a brighter future for all.
Everyone, and welcome to Sparking Change with Gigi. In today's show, we're going to talk about the journey of inner work and how can you tap into your true potential to realize that whatever we need to be successful in life, we already have it within us. So today, my guest, Ralph Softly, will join me in helping you to get a better understanding of what do we mean by inner work and how do we use it to our advantage so that we can achieve our goals. And let's welcome Ralph Softly.
Hello. Thank you.
Hello, Ralph. Welcome to Sparking Change with Gigi. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate that. And you.
My pleasure. This topic is very dear to me because I know that I had to figure out what inner work was with all the schooling that I had done. I really didn't know what that meant. And when I started my journey into truly understanding, my true potential and when I entered into the self-development world, I just was astounded to like all this information that I never ever learned when I was in school. So to me, the inner work helped me to really understand who I am and what I'm capable of doing without relying on no one else but myself. So I wanted to kind of like touch on your story and how did you get into understanding your higher self and your potential and what you've been through.
Oh, well, thank you for that. It started out when I was very young. Um, my brother brought home a book called Chariots of the Gods. And, and he read it, I read it, for as much as I could. I was probably like 6 or 7 at the time. I really didn't understand it, but that's what started me on this journey. I've always been into concepts like that, but then I went to school and sort of got away from it, focused on my grades, college and things of that nature, but it never really left me. And then one time I was working at a job, and somebody mentioned a book called The Kabbalah. And for that, my subconscious, so I didn't know at the time, it was my subconscious mind was just telling me, get that book right now, get the book. So after work, I told him, what's this book you're talking about? Where is it? And how do I get it? So he told me where it was. I hopped in my car. It didn't have good plates or anything like that. And I drove to get the book. After that, I read the book. They were talking about the vibration, polarity, all of these concepts that I had sort of heard of, but now it was just, wow, it's in a book.
The universal laws, right? Pretty much.
Exactly. The 7 universal laws, because I always simply tell people now, the principles of truth are 7, and that's going to be all those laws, universal laws, and anything else is basically up for debate.
Yeah.
So I began to read that book, and I got further. I could, it was funny. I would like focus on my vibration. It would raise my vibration unconsciously. I would have some successes, but I didn't believe in it, and then I'd go back to what I was.
Yeah.
So I was what Bob Proctor would call unconscious confidence.
Confidence, yeah.
Yeah, and like in spurts. It wasn't like anything I could hold on to or anything like that.
Let's quickly go back and just kind of, I know for me, I didn't know what inner work meant, right? So what is inner work? How can you define inner work?
Inner work is the work that I do and everybody should do. Everybody that I've talked to will, and myself, when you're growing up, people will tell you who you are, what you are. You're a good boy, you're a bad boy, you're fast, you're athletic, and all this sort of stuff. This is just other people's opinion. But if you say that is who I am and you ingest it and put it into your subconscious mind, that's who you become. So these concepts might or might not be you. So the inner work I do is just so to say is basically go in there with a mental hoe, dig up all the old sort of stuff, and plant the seeds that I want to grow. Who am I? I can change who I am. That's the inner work. Now, it sounds easy. It might be for some, was not for me. And I'm still doing the work. I mean,
Well, let's.
mhm.
I know we get conditioned, right? When we are young, especially at before the age of 7, we build a lot of information that kind of like stays there, and it drives us to do things that we do today. For example, if prior to, when you were young, if a teacher or a parent didn't treat you well, you kind of take that with you and use that experience or go back to that experience every time you're trying to do something in life to move ahead. Like it will prevent you from achieving your goals. So the inner work, it has to do with the mind, of course, but it also has to do with, your emotions and your experiences that you would need to go back and say, why do I feel this way? Right? And address it and then create what you really want. Like you said, create who you want to be versus what someone else told you, right? Create your own story. And I'm sure that's what you've experienced, is where you created your own story. I had to create my own story in order to be where I am today,
Of
the
course.
story that I wanted to be. So, yeah. Can you
Okay.
explain a little bit of your journey in that respect?
Of course. Um, when I was younger, I was on a path, and it was just basically I was probably going to be a lawyer or something like that, or a doctor. Both of my parents were educated, so I was going down that vein. They got a divorce, shattered my world, and I just went on a different path. Um, but during all these times, there was divorce, there was a new family, there were people in that family, i.e., my stepmother, who did not like me. And some things happened, and my father didn't have my back. And I had already left my mother, so I felt I couldn't go back to her. So I just went into myself. That's all I had. I couldn't trust anybody. And I mean, I still love them. We made our peace with it because we had to, but I can explain that a little bit later, and forgiveness.
Yes.
However, at that point, I just went into myself. I would disappear for weekends, come home 6 o'clock, and just leave. Come back at Sunday night, sleep, go to school next week, same thing. So I'm just in the cycle of just being on my own and trying to figure things out. And my mind, at that point, I'm way too young to know what's happening. I'm just like, I'm trying to be nice, but
And you have no idea that's actually going to affect your decision making in the future. That experience alone had a tremendous impact on you and how you felt internal and how you would actually react to any future
yeah.
experiences, because it's almost like, if you put your hand on the stove and you get burned, in the future you're going to think about putting your hand on that stove again, right?
Yeah, that
um
because that is that deep emotion, and that's what you planted. We were talking about, as I was talking about earlier, So now that's where I default to,
Yes.
and it wasn't a good place to be because it costs you relationships in the future
Of
because you're
course.
always going for that. So as I got older, I had to go back and replay all this sort of stuff. Why do I think that way? Is it serving me now? And what can I do to change it if I need to change it?
That's great. And this is and the next question, you kind of like go right into it, is the fact that, why should you do the inner work? And if you don't, you're stuck, right? If you
Yeah.
don't go back and say why and what's my purpose here, right? Because when you do the inner work, essentially you're finding out what are your gifts and what
Hmm.
did you come here to do?
Yeah.
And right, and in that journey is when you begin to understand who you are.
Exactly. Exactly. No, I mean, it was sort of funny when I was in high school. My brother went to metal class and he made this little nameplate. And I was like, I can do that. So a couple years later, I get into metal class and I have a wealth of talent there. I made a eagle and entered it into the States and it came in second. I didn't
Wow.
even want to enter it. And so my grandmother, at my graduation, said, I think you can be a professional artist. You're that good. But in my mind, that's for somebody else. I don't think I'm that good.
It's like, this is
And
grandma. She's just making me feel good, right?
exactly, exactly. I know she loves me and she's just saying this to me. It's not true.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's again, we don't give ourselves a lot of credit because of our
Right.
past experiences,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, that trauma.
Yeah. And, part of that inner work, I know for me as well, because I came here from Italy.
Hmm.
So, and I went into second grade, and boy, do all my siblings, we got bullied because we didn't
Hmm.
speak English.
Oh, wow.
So, there was a lot of, we got bullied, we got beat up,
Hmm.
and all of that led to feeling insecure,
Hmm.
shy. We didn't want to speak. We were afraid to
Hmm.
open our mouth. So even as we got a little bit older, it's
Yeah.
like we couldn't be authentic.
Right.
We, had to change who we were just to fit in.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
when, we talk about this inner work, you start to realize that it's important to go back, acknowledge those times,
Hmm.
forgive those times, forgive ourselves for those
Yeah.
times,
Hmm.
right? This is the inner work so that we can open up our mind to our true potential, because we don't know the gifts that we have because of those experiences. So your grandmother saw your talents
Hmm.
before you did, because you have those experiences from the
Hmm.
traumas in your life. Your grandmother didn't have them, so she
Yeah.
saw your talent,
Hmm.
but you didn't embrace it because you hadn't done the inner work.
Right. And the
You
work
know
didn't even know what it was at that time.
exactly. And I know for me, when I began to do my inner work was when I I was really stuck in life.
Hmm.
And I
Oh,
think
wow.
we, through our pain and suffering, we start to analyze ourselves and say, okay, what's going on here? Like this doesn't make sense. Like, what do I need
Hmm.
to do here? Versus blaming everyone else for what's going on inside of you, right? The inner work is about acknowledging everything that has gone on in our lives and taking ownership on it without
Hmm.
saying, you know, it's somebody else's fault.
Right.
That,
With that pointing the
right?
finger. Yeah, no. Because I remember my father instilled that to me, even though we had our issues, he instilled it in me. If there's a problem, don't put in anybody else. Look at yourself in the mirror. So I always had that going for me. So it was just a weird dichotomy of emotion, shall we say, for me.
Yeah. And,
It,
and that's kind of like the tip, like the tips we want to give to the audience is that when you do that inner work, look at yourself in the mirror,
Yeah.
and acknowledge your strengths and your weakness. And, I know for me, I needed to be vulnerable, and it was okay because I knew I was opening up another path that would lead me to where I needed to be.
Yes.
And being vulnerable is really about just understanding that we're not perfect,
Huh?
and we're not the only ones that have, this quote, this issue, this problem, right? There's many,
Oh yeah.
many people. So the importance of doing this inner work is about really acknowledging that you're human. We make mistakes, right? Why is it important to do the inner work? And again, I just think it opens up the doors that your mind, it becomes open to creativity, because
Yes.
you've kind of like flushed down all the stuff that was holding you back.
Yeah. No.
You know, yeah.
Because
Tell me how how it affected you as well.
how it affected me was I didn't really want to try anything. I try it because of some of the stuff I'd read, but I wouldn't go all in.
Yeah.
And that is the worst thing you can do. You can't be half your things. You got to go all the way in, because that's the
Because
only
you're
way
trying
you're
to
gonna
please
get.
somebody else, right? When
Yeah.
you're not in it, but you're trying to do it for someone else.
And that person might not even know. So it's just all right here for me. And I just um realized that I have to do this for me. Whatever anybody says, that's their opinion. It's not me. Because I've got something from the creator. Only I can see it. So then I have to do it. They can't see it. God bless them. This is my
Right.
journey.
That's right. And when we really set our mind to say, I'm going to get this done,
Hmm.
or this is my goal, and I'm going to stay laser focused no matter
Hmm.
what I have to do. I'm going to achieve this and persevere with whatever challenges come your way.
Yeah, no.
That is, following your heart, right? This is the inner
Hmm.
work that you give yourself a command and
Hmm.
you follow it, and you apply faith, whatever it takes
Hmm.
to achieve that goal. And I think that, there's so much noise going on outside of us that we tend to not make ourselves a priority. I know that was my story, right? It was like
Oh,
I
yeah.
needed to do this, that, and go to school and take care of my family and come home, cook dinner, go to work the next day. And I was on what we call autopilot.
Yeah, I understand
And
that.
when you're on autopilot, I think at some point you're gonna have to stop and get some gas, otherwise you're in trouble. So that happened to me. Like I didn't stop until my body said, now you're gonna stop.
Right, yeah.
And unfortunately sometimes, we wait for that. We wait to feel some pain and suffering before we stop, to realize that we're on, the road is curving, and we're going down a ditch, and we need to stop before it gets dangerous, right?
Really,
um,
definitely.
but we're going to take a short commercial break, and then when we
Okay.
come back, we're going to talk about, like, how can someone begin this journey of doing the inner work. How can they begin if they are in a position in their life where they want more, they want to reach more goals, but they just seem to take 2 steps forward and 5 steps back. So we're going to come back after the commercial break and talk about how we can address that. And give me a second.
Now, the vast majority Approximately 95% of the people of all countries go around and around without aim or purpose. They drift with the circumstances of life, good or bad.
A drifter is one who permits himself to be influenced and controlled by circumstances outside of his own mind.
Whereas the successful individuals create their own circumstances and ride them to victory.
When you're on purpose, you're living on purpose. You will never quit if you have a real purpose.
A burning desire to be and to do is the starting point from which the dreamer must take off. But what I have done has been recorded, it's been tested, it's being taken to a free world, and it's going to benefit millions of people who are not yet born.
And it's going to benefit millions of people who are not yet born. We're some of those people that we're spreading this to the world. As your awareness grows, the doubt is gone so that you can manifest whatever it is your heart desires. Isn't that beautiful?
I love that commercial because, it mentioned, right, awareness, right? I think one of the biggest advantages of doing inner work is really raising your awareness on what you're capable of doing if you set your mind to doing it, right?
Which is anything. I mean, I'm not going to say if you're like 60 years old and 3 feet tall, you're going to make the NBA. Probably not, but
right. But you know what? It's the mind that drives the body, right? It's the mind that controls. The mind. The body's a manifestation of the mind, of course. That's what we learn.
The body is a tool of the mind.
And so if someone wants to really go in the direction of doing the inner work and discovering their true potential, what would you recommend?
A coach, a mentor, somebody who's done it. I've talked with people about that, and some people say I can go to YouTube and watch these people, and that's very true. You can. However, with the coach, there's going to be homework. There's going to be application of this stuff. If you do not apply it, nothing's going to change. So if you're just watching these folks on TV, on YouTube, or whatever it is, it's going to get you a little something. You'll feel good. You might have a little blip, but you're basically going to stay the same because you're at the same level of awareness, trying to absorb all of this. You're going.
Yeah, no, I wanted to say, you mentioned a coach, and I know that obviously we've had coaches from when we were born, right? First it's our parents, then it's our teachers, then we go to college and it's our professors, then we have a job and we get the bosses telling us, they try to help us if you get a good boss while you're on the job. But when you're finally out on your own and you're trying to manage life, and life can be great, but it can also throw a lot of curveballs to make you go in the wrong direction. And I see a coach as helping someone stay on course to meet their goals and to keep them accountable, right?
Yes.
Because accountability is something that we had when we went to school. You got to do homework, you got to hand it in. You were accountable for your homework, right? And you did this for 12 years, and then you went to college for another 4, maybe even 8. And again, you received assignments and you had accountability to set it in so that you can get your grades and your certificate.
Right.
And now here you are. You got your certificates, you finished your college, and now you're on your own to really deal with life. Because the whole time up to then, you were kind of being coached.
Yeah.
Unconsciously, you were being coached. So now that you're on your own, and I would have never known if I didn't go through, my own spiritual awakening and tapping into this information, how important it is to have someone to be your cheerleader and also keep you accountable so that you can reach your goals. And it's not about reaching the goal, it's about who you become.
Person you become is so important
Right.
because once they say once your mind is stretched, you can never go back to what it was,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that's what the work will do. It's going to
Yes.
stretch you. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be very challenging.
You
But
know,
I
I
can't.
say,
Mhm.
I say, when we're in a box,
Mhm.
right? Just, looking at the screen right here, we're in a box. We have four corners.
Mhm.
And those four corners to me is like when you get stuck and you're bouncing back and you're going to another corner and you're bouncing
Mhm.
back and you're going to another corner. But when you're in a circle, right? Like the community that we're in with Napoleon Hill, right? We're in a circle that we can, ask for help, get advice, try to see how best we can get the answers that we need to accomplish our goals. So having being in a community to help you, get to that next level of awareness, to grow, to become the better version of yourself, and stepping out of your comfort zone. Because when you're in a box, you're essentially in a comfort zone,
Yes, you are.
right? And good
Yeah.
things happen when you step out of this box.
Comfort zone, yeah, no, because I remember there was a saying that I heard. When you're a little kid, you have this big circle. You're thinking big as a child because everything is open. It's great. And you can put so many things in that circle and get this big. But as you get older and older and older, and you go to school, pretty soon it becomes a little dot. And then you're trying to put everything that you want into that dot. It's probably not going to work. So that's when you want to get a coach and blow that thing up again. And then, because I always say, be childlike, but not childish. So you can
Have
always
fun,
have
right?
that.
Have fun.
Have fun. The spirit of adventure is all something's new. Because I remember when I was a little kid,
Absolutely.
I watched the same cartoon 10,000 times because it was still new to me.
Yeah, yeah. No, I that's one thing that I see within myself.
Mm-hmm.
When I was doing, there was no time for fun,
Mm-hmm.
right? And now it's a whole different world for me. But knowing that um, you're constantly doing and you're not enjoying the simple things in life,
Mm-hmm.
like something's wrong with that picture. I truly feel that, that's, for me, it was the wrong path, obviously, because we're not made to be here to just do, work, and then your time is up. And
Yeah.
for people to say, oh, she was such a great worker, she did so great, but
Yeah.
as an individual, not to experience the beauty that is here,
Mm-hmm.
I see it now as like a sin, like
Mm-hmm.
a sin, because we didn't get to enjoy life the way we were meant to be. But that's all because of our choices, right? The choices that we
Yes.
make.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. No,
Um,
I agree with you on the sin part because you were sent here to do something. And if you don't do it, if you're not living your, how they say, as everybody says now, your best life, that would be sin to me.
yeah.
I mean, you have the tools to do anything you want to do. Just have to have some belief and some intestinal fortitude and
Right.
persevere. You'll get there.
Yeah, going back to, what we came here to do is
Mm-hmm.
use our gifts and talents
Mm-hmm.
and serve and enjoy life. right?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And many don't get a chance to really find what their true gifts and talents are.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was going to say, and that's why life can't be enjoyed, because we have the feeling, oh, we were, again, from the past experiences we've had, from our
Mm-hmm.
past environments, from the culture, from TV, from everything outside of us, feeds our mind all this information that prevents us to be in control of us,
If you let it. But yes, true.
right?
If you let
But the inner work now gives you more, you're more in charge,
Yes.
because
Really.
you understand what's going on inside. Like, why are you feeling um, that you can't do something? Why are
Right.
you feeling stuck? Like, because when you really dig deep into these questions, we
Mm-hmm.
study the 7 layers of why. Keep
Yes.
going
Yes.
down. Why, why,
Right. Yeah.
why,
True.
why?
Mm-hmm.
And doing that kind of work to discover your why is essential. Why are we
Yes.
here?
Yeah.
Why
Because.
are we here? Right?
No, exactly. No, because I know when you mentioned the 7 layers, the first 2 to 3 are just going to be superficial answers that you just spit out. But if they
Yeah.
keep digging, pretty soon you're going to get there. I remember it was a cathartic experience for me when we did it. I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, that's what I'm here for. I mean, I knew it superficially, but when you finally became emotional, it was just like click, a slight little click just happened. And that's why I love doing this work, because
Yes.
now I can't ever go back to what I was. I won't. It's not going to happen.
But
Just
you
get,
know what? Yeah, and the level of awareness that we gain from
hmm
understanding how our thinking, how we create the thoughts and the way we think. Now we understand why those we had those experiences,
hmm
and now we know not to do that anymore, right?
And
Well,
now
and
we,
it's go ahead. I'll let you speak. I'll let
is
you
it
speak on that.
now we can help people through and help them because
Yeah,
we've gone through it. I mean,
exactly, exactly. Um, Having when we're interacting with each other, I know that you know, and I'll just bring this question up. In what ways can you be true to yourself when interacting with others?
great question. I've always been somewhat too true to myself with others. And it would be under the guise of, well, I'm telling you the truth. Not necessarily true. I'm telling you my truth about you. So I just tell the person my truth, my experiences and how it might help them. It At one time it would be, this is what you need to do. I'd give them my advice, and I'm adding vices to them.
Because you're
So
applying your experiences, right?
right.
Um, I mean, you've had coaches and mentors in your life as well,
Mhm,
and they
mhm.
help you to see things that you didn't recognize in yourself,
Of course.
right? And I think this is where we're saying being truthful to yourself is by being honest to the person that you're
Mhm.
interacting with,
Yes.
to point out their strengths and their weaknesses,
hmm
because we are so critical of ourselves, just like you were
hmm
talking about your grandmother telling you had a talent and you're like, yeah, no, no way. Could you
hmm
imagine if you've taken her advice and you ran with that?
hmm
Right, like your life would have probably been on a different path right now, should have
Oh,
you know taken what she had told you and went to college and went to architect or whatever, and really developed that talent that she saw in you.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So being truthful to ourselves when we're interacting with others is sharing your honesty of what you feel about them.
Yes.
Right. And this is even in a relationship with, husband and wife, or a worker, a boss and a worker, sharing that information and being honest with each other just creates a relationship of being creates a relationship where you're working together in harmony.
Yes.
In cooperation versus competition.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest part of being honest when working with each other, is that you truly care about the other person.
Yes, you care about their general well-being. Because I just know, listening to Bob Proctor, he said, I've heard people say, "Don't compare, compete." I say, I respectfully disagree. Don't compete, create, and that way, everybody wins.
In cooperation, right? In
Yes.
cooperation, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all benefit more when we are in cooperation with each other, because we're really understanding that it's whatever we're doing, it would be beneficial for all of us.
Yeah.
Right. And working in that sense of harmony and love and respect for each other is what brings more of what we want. Because obviously when there's no peace and you're in competition and you're fighting against each other, the end results is definitely not something that we want.
Chaos.
Exactly. But I'm going to take another quick commercial break, and we're going to come back and talk about purpose and meaning. Like, what's the purpose and meaning of all this work that the inner work that we're talking about. Take that. And this is a commercial break from our sponsor, E360 TV. So, when we're doing this inner work, it's obviously that we begin to gain that awareness that begins us to point us in the direction of understanding what our purpose is, and discovering our purpose when we do this inner work. I know when I was working for a company, and I worked for 3 or 4 different companies before I switched careers into teaching children with disabilities. When I compared the 2 jobs, it was like night and day. Like I felt like the fulfillment of teaching kids with disability, autism in particular, it was so fulfilling. It was so happy to just hear a child say a word or call me Miss Gigi. I was like ecstatic when the beginning of the year they couldn't even say a word, and then towards the end they called my name. It was like the greatest milestone that, to me, it was just heartfelt. I was so humbled to watch this. And it really gave me a sense of meaning of like, I'm getting up in the morning and I'm going to go help these kids, go outside. I remember taking my kids and I was a science teacher, and I put a white jacket on them, and I put goggles, and I made them all look like scientists, because it was just, it was a passion to see for me, the fulfilling and the joy to see these kids like, okay, we're scientists, let's go, right? You overlook I overlooked the disability, and you really touched the heart of these kids. You know, when there is purpose and meaning in your life, things like this just bring you so much joy. And when I felt the joy, I gave more joy, right? There's a term that says, you know, you you can't give what you don't have. If your cup is not full, you can't give it.
Okay.
So, you know, when you align yourself with your greater higher self, and you start filling your cup with joy, contentment, happiness, love, now you can spread it,
Yes, you can.
right?
Yeah.
So, yes, and this is what we talk about, purpose and meaning, because
Mhm.
what you give out comes back to you, right? And sometimes
Yes.
it comes back tenfold. So, and it goes in both directions, because we were talking about a little bit before, the universal laws. So there are laws in this universe that we need to abide by, and if we don't, we will feel it. We will see it
Yes.
happening, right? So talk a little bit
Hmm.
about that, like your meaning, your purpose, and really just doing the right thing when it comes to interacting with people in our daily lives.
Well, I've always, I mean, like, my mom always instilled that in me, just to be nice and decent. It's just what I default to. Um, but you just go out there, and as I say, you just want to love on somebody, because there's not a lot of, I mean, it's out there, but it's sort of scarce at times.
Yeah.
And if you don't talk with some people, they don't know how to react to it because they're just so used to something else. So I'm always out there just trying to be my best self and do the best that I can. And, like you were talking about when you were working with the kid, that sort of hit me right there, because I remember when I was a substitute teacher at a Shriners Burn Ward, and these children had burns all over their body, but they still had this indomitable spirit to be a kids, and they were just playing, and they would make me pictures, and it just melted my heart. I'm like, who am I to receive this? Not that I'm not worthy of it, but their parents are there, but they still did something for me. I was like, this is so nice. And ever since then, I was like, I could never have a bad day. These kids might never be the same again. But in this
Right.
moment, they're children and they're just playing. And
Right.
that is something that I want to just give to the world.
And this is where I think we become more fulfilled in life, when we're giving, right? We're giving ourselves to, we're giving with our heart, authentically giving,
Yes.
you know, to share our stories, or to lend, you know, a hand, or just support, to let them know that we're here. Like, I could just sit with these kids and just have a ball, and do, you know, and just look at them, and see them smile brings a
Hmm.
smile to my face, you know, to my heart. Of course, you know, life is not always easy. We understand that, and we need to build resilience towards the, you know, the rough times that we have, and push through. And when we talk about the inner work,
Hmm.
right? We, because of the traumas and experiences that we went through, this is where it gets tough, because you have to address those issues and those emotional impacts that you've had in your life, in order to open up your mind to new opportunities,
Yes.
and go through that stage of forgiving. So can we talk about that a little bit?
Please. Yes, we can. I have a statement that I tell people. The more I work on myself, the better everyone looks. And it's so true. I work on myself, and we all know family can push buttons. And nowadays, they'll push the buttons. I now respond instead of react. It's
That's
sort of
right.
like, and I'll just be there. You don't, that's not a trigger anymore for you. He doesn't mean it that way. He can say what he wants to, but how do I respond to it? I'm not going to engage him on that level, or whoever it might be. And I just keep talking with love and clarity.
And that's again, you being in charge of you, right? And we're not taught that. So when you do the inner work and you understand that everything in your reality is because of a decision that we've made, and whether we reacted or responded to it, it's something that we own. And when we own it, the emotional impact is not that hurtful anymore, because you were in charge of making that decision, and you understand that from an awareness perspective, right? Like, okay, I get that. I know why that person did that, because I did this. So you're reasoning more, right? With your heart, not with the head and the ego, not the ego mind, but with your heart, right? Because I say sometimes the ego mind gets in the way of you truly being authentic. And right?
Oh yeah, no, the ego mind to me is going to keep you where you are, because that's your box, as we were talking earlier.
It's your comfort zone.
It's your comfort zone. And all of your greatness is outside of the comfort zone. But the ego's like, nah, we're right here and we're good.
Yeah. And you're talking about tapping into the subconscious mind, right? Where all your paradigms, your habits, and this is where we function 95% of our day. Right? And the beliefs there, what we believe is all in the subconscious mind. And until we tap into that, things will never change. They'll change a little bit, but they're not going to change permanently, right?
Not going to change, which, I mean, no, they're going to change a little bit.
But you go right back to it.
Yeah, true.
And Bob used to talk a lot about, the paradigms, right? What are the paradigms? It's what the conditioning that we've had to break through that, because we do have unlimited potential within us.
Oh yeah.
To do what we want to do and in life, but we just don't take the chance because fear.
Yeah.
Right? The 6 ghosts of fear.
Yeah.
And I know, for myself, every time I went to go to school, and I went to first I went at night. I did all my schooling at night. So I used to work in the day, go to school at night. And at night we used to have all people who worked, so adults who attended college at night to do it. And I was scared. I'm like, oh my God, these people are better than me. But I kept going. And then I did 23 years of schooling at night, because I did a part-time. I stopped, I had my kids and went back. But it was, you overcame that fear. I overcame the fear. Now it was like, you know what? I'm going because I'm learning, right? And it becomes an adventure. Like you actually make it fun out of it. But getting out of the comfort zone is when you are changing the habits. You're creating new habits for yourself.
Yes.
Right? Because as you grow, as you reach your goals, you're growing to a new person. So you can't stay stagnant. Otherwise, the world keeps moving.
Yeah.
And, you don't gain the knowledge. I mean, AI, oh my God, AI is like taking over here, and it can do things so much faster than we can. But still, now we need to learn what AI is about, because you can use it to your advantage.
Of course, if you're ready for it, AI can be another tool. You just have to know how to use it. It's just another tool in your tool belt. Like I say, That's why I'm always changing new skill sets, new ways of doing things. Because if you stay where you are, you're going to be prepared for a world that no longer exists.
Exactly, exactly. And I know that our, community at Napoleon Hill, we're
Hmm.
constantly getting taught on how to do, new things, how to address
Yeah.
AI,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
being connected with a community, whether it's be Napoleon Hill or another community, it's essential because you want to understand what's going on that affects you.
Yeah.
You know, uh, the outer world is moving, and it's important for us to move as well, but also understanding that who you are is essential, and doing the inner work is very important for you to go that extra mile, right?
Oh, yes.
You
Wow.
can't just do just minimum, because we know how important it is, having a positive attitude, right?
Hmm.
As you growing and becoming a better version of yourself, keeping the positive mental attitude that you can learn,
Yeah. No.
you can push through and persevere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely push through, persevere. I mean, you know, on my code card, I have a saying, I see only the objective, the obstacles must fall.
Yeah.
So with that, you keep pushing through and you keep doing it, man, because I just don't want to go back to where I was. It's just not an option. So I just move
I
forward.
love that, right? When you say it's not an option, I'm doing this no matter what, whatever
Yeah,
it takes,
whatever it takes.
whatever it
Be-
takes.
Because it's just, what else are you going to do?
But at the end of the day, I think we never get the opportunity to say, well, what if?
Hmm.
Even our dear friend Johnny said it today in the session. She's like,
Hmm.
ask yourself, what if? What if it was possible? And I love the way she said it, because we don't ask that. We say, oh no, look at everybody else. Nobody else did it. What makes you think you can do it? Well, that's impossible. But what if?
Yeah.
The two little words, what if, can actually help you to break in
Yeah.
new possibilities, or gain what you would like to be or do or have.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and it's important. I know I learned for the first time when I went through my journey, like the law of polarity, right?
Yeah.
Everything has an opposite: light, dark, big, small,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Everything has up, down. So
Yep. Cold, hot.
why, right?
Hmm.
So why is our mind sometimes just bringing us always to the negative part, and we don't say the what if? And this is the inner work, that when you do the inner work, you'll start asking yourself, well, what if?
All the time. Pretty soon it just becomes, it's done.
It's done. It's
It's done.
done.
Hmm.
And I have to say this for myself. It's counting on me. It's
Hmm.
relying on me.
Oh yeah.
It's giving, it's not anybody outside of me that can make me feel accomplished,
Right.
happy, fulfilled.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's the work that we do, and that's why the inner work is so, so important.
Exactly.
Um,
And like
because I think, yeah,
Bob said, we're God's highest form of creation. We have uh, those six senses that you have to use. I'm not going to go into them, but that is
I
what you
know.
have to use. That is what you have from your Creator.
But
So
we tend
use
to use just our five senses, and we don't tap into our higher
your
faculties,
faculties.
right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And the intuition, the memory, the reasoning,
Hmm.
imagination. Like we don't use, I mean, we used to use imagination when we were kids, but we don't use it anymore.
You want to know something? You use it as an adult a lot. And that's why I say worry is misuse of the imagination.
Yeah. Well, worry, worry, fear, doubt is because of the unknown,
Hmm.
it stops us from doing the things we want to do in life.
Yeah. I understand
Right.
that too. But I understand one thing. I'm an adult. I've been through a lot and I survived. Let's keep going.
Just keep going. That's it.
Keep
Keep going. Reach
going.
for the stars.
You got
Well,
to.
I thank you so much for coming on the show today, because this is a topic that's dear to me, because I know that once, we are surrounded by people who are doing inner work, and we
Mhm.
see the results they're getting in their life, and we see how happy they are. And it's about really understanding who you are, right? And your strengths that can help you to get to the next level in your life. Identify a purpose, identify what your gifts are, so that you could be of service to this world. And that is what we're doing. And I appreciate you, Ralph. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Gigi, for having me. I truly appreciated this. Had a great
You're
time.
welcome. It's great. And if anyone would like to get in touch with you, can they? Where can they get in touch with you, Ralph?
Instagram, the Savants of Success. Email ralphsavantofsuccess at gmail.com.
Beautiful. Well, thank you everyone for being with us, and we'll see you next week on Spark and Change with Gigi. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me on Sparking Change with Gigi. I hope that our episode today has ignited a spark within you to create positive change in your own life and in the world around you. To learn more about how you can become a guest or supporter, head over to sparkingchange.now.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing, sharing, and leaving a review. Your feedback is incredibly valuable to me, and it helps me to continue producing content that sparks change in each of us and the world. You can find us on various platforms, including Google Play Store, Apple App Store, YouTube, Facebook, Roku, Android TV, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Thank you again for watching, and I look forward to having you join me again next week on Sparking Change with Gigi.